with I Am Ramekin. We're just riding the mountain here, and I kind of got a topic in my head that I wanted to talk about, while I'm thinking about it, while it's fresh on my mind. You go and you ride and you have a good time with friends, and you're just out riding, enjoying, the mountains, the canyons, whatever you have around you. And you're kind of in this fantasy world where everything is fun and awesome and like, yeah, I'm doing so good. Yeah, there's this notion of like living in this fantasy world where everything's fun and you're having a great time with your friends. You're kind of not living in reality where, you're not considering what could happen after every turn. What happens if you're going too fast and you get a ticket? The reason I call it a fantasy world is because when anything happens that like snaps you out of it, you're instantly back in the real world. So I'm going to give you an example of what happened earlier that kind of made this made me think about it. Matt and I were riding down, through some switchbacks. It wasn't even really mountainous stuff, but we got behind this cruiser at some point, and we kind of stuck behind the cruiser because it's a tiny, small mountain road. There's not really any straightaways to have a good visual of what's coming up, so there's no good places to pass. So we were just chilling behind the cruiser. We're not out here trying to ride fast today anyway. We stay behind this cruiser. We come up on a really sharp turn, and we come through the turn, and there are 3 cars riding. I think it was either the middle or the last car was a white BMW. And the second we come out of that turn, that white BMW crosses our lane and runs into the side of the mountain. And the reason I've got to thinking about this fantasy world is because we're up here riding, having a great time, and we've had a really good day. The weather's perfect. That's the view. That's the view that I was talking about. Yeah, the weather's perfect. It's just us two. It's not a big group of people, so we don't have to worry about stuff. You're not up here worrying about your speed or any of that kind of stuff. And living in a fantasy world, because that's stuff you need to be worrying about, or you need to at least be conscious about. But we're up here living in the fantasy world and blah, blah, blah. Come out of that turn, just bam, right out of it. And you're like, holy crap. And we were thinking afterward, what would have happened if we would have passed that cruiser? If we'd have got bored going slow, passed the cruiser and been going a little faster. That BMW could have run into us. And that's nothing that's nothing you consciously think about on a day-to-day basis. Especially when you're out riding. You get all happy and you're like, woohoo, I get my escape from my regular day, get to go out, get on 2 wheels and just live it up. And then something like that happens, and the same thing happened when I got my ticket a little while ago. Well, I guess it's been a couple months back at this point. You're out riding and something happens and a cop pulls you over. That'll also snap you out of that fantasy world. I think I referred to it in the video. I made a video talking about getting the ticket. It was for my license plate or something. It wasn't any big deal. I wasn't speeding or anything. Just that cop pulling me over snapped me out of it. And I think what I referred to it on that video was the zone. You're in the zone, you're riding hard, you're doing a good job, you really feel good, you know what I mean? You're on your game. Something happens like that, snaps you out of it. But I think I want to refer to it as the fantasy world, because man, when you're in that zone, and I'm thinking back to earlier when we were both riding up the hill, I was following Matt, and we were going pretty quick. We were doing pretty quick. Because I was following Matt, trying to, show him some pointers on riding and stuff. So we weren't going slow. And, just going back and thinking about that, what if something happens with a tire? What if your back wheel slips out? Just little stuff like that. You don't think about riding until it happens, until you're confronted with a situation. And that just snaps you out of it. And this is all personal. I don't know if it's not documented fact, but this is how I feel when I'm riding. I feel like I get snapped out of the zone that I'm in, and it becomes oh shit, stuff can freaking happen, man, at any point, at any moment. It's really weird if you sit there and think about it, because if you're a type of guy that or a girl that comes to the mountains or goes to the canyons and you ride kind of hard, I mean, you don't think about this kind of stuff until it happens, and then you're like, fucking shit, you know? But anyway, just wanted to kind of get that thought out there. What do you guys think? Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you ever been out riding and having a good time, and then something happens, like somebody wrecks in front of you or you wreck, and your whole day, the rest of your day probably, or at least for a while afterwards, is then changed because of that wreck? And it doesn't have to be a wreck, you know. Have you ever gotten a ticket while you're riding quick on a canyon or something, and then been like, all right, I'm chilling the rest of the day, to hell with it? Not that you don't go ride, but you don't ride at a quarter of the percentage you were the previous. Just interesting. Wow, that word did not come out. Just an interesting topic. I figured I'd get you guys' opinion on. I love having conversations with you guys. I've been proven over and over again that you guys are stupidly smarter than I am. It doesn't say much for you, but it is a fact. So I like to hear y'all's opinions and just kind of get what y'all think about it. So leave me a comment in the comments down there. Let me know what you think about getting into the fantasy world or into the zone, and then specifically getting snapped out of it. Do you do that, or do you get a ticket and you're like, all right, to hell with it, and you go right back at it? I will see you guys in the comments down below, and I will also see you on the next video. Thanks for liking and commenting on the video. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Deuces in a turn. Wow, too fast in the turn. Oh man, bye guys.